Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee Live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie. Jump right to questions. Feel free to type in any questions, but just to kick things off, maybe Stacey, do we even have jobs for students?
Sure do. You're all hired. Yeah, there's lots going on. So we're just working through some of the requests for the upcoming January term right now. So we don't have our postings up yet, but they are going to be coming up in this week for sure. There'll be some postings up, and then they might trickle through over the following week, depending as we get more requests coming through. So there's lots happening. I am anticipating, just from an initial count on my numbers, again, I'm waiting for the final approvals, we're looking at between 60, around 60-ish, 65-ish for the upcoming term. And that's for the coal business unit. And then we're anticipating some for our trail business unit, as well as our copper business unit, and then our Race 21 team. So you'll see those postings trickle through. Some of the postings that you'll see for like mining engineers, mechanical engineers, process engineers, or any of them that are basically shared commonly through a couple of our operations, you'll see at the top that it might highlight 2 or 3 different business units, because we try and collaborate on our postings. So you may see mechanical engineers, and it may say for the coal business unit, for trail operations, and then for Highland Valley Copper. So we all collaborate together to recruit for those roles, and look at where people would be the best fit. And obviously you can display your interest to us, and let us know where you would prefer to be placed, and we can try and accommodate as best we can. To give you some insight from the overall postings that you'll see and over the openings, you could probably tell from the numbers I've thrown out already today, coal does the bulk of the hiring. So there certainly is the large number of those are going to be based at the coal business unit. And like I mentioned earlier, that's in the southeastern BC area. And then we have race positions that are based at coal. Some are based at our race office. We have quite a variety. So it's their business positions and then engineering positions. So yeah, you'll see quite a bulk of them are going to mention coal in their explanation and location, that sort of thing.
Perfect. Maybe we could, I don't see any questions in yet, which is fine, but maybe we could do a little deeper dive in what is Race 21?
Sure, yeah. And we can all probably pitch in on this one. I'm sure Amy could be a lot more of an expert than I am, but Race 21 is our technology transformation. So basically, Tech has been going through this transformation since 2019, I believe it started, 2018, 2019. And it's really Tech's commitment to really introduce technologies and where we can, so that we can innovate, be more efficient when it comes to safety, when it comes to productivity, and really just upping our game in terms of how we mine. And so it's a kind of an all-encompassing. So we do have a Race 21 team that is a bunch of experts that work on like computer engineering, that area, but then we also have people who are embedded at the operations as well. And those would be working for Race, but basically rolling out some of the technology projects at the operations. So really you could be Race, but you could be working at the site, you could be working with the Race team as a computer engineer, depending where your skill set is. But pretty much if you're a student at one of our operations, you are going to see a Race project or a technology project likely being implemented while you're here at Tech. So we all sort of touch it somehow, in way, shape, or form throughout your term. It's just because we're constantly innovating and looking for new ways we can do things, and looking for innovative ways to improve how we run our business.
Yeah, and they're basically transforming us from a traditional mining company to a technology or data science company. Awesome. I see a hand up. So maybe we'll go with Kieran. Feel free to unmute your mic and fire away.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Hey, Kieran.
Yeah. Great. Hey, I'm a commerce student in 3rd year at Queen's. So I'm not sure how many other people I speak for. But I was just interested in like a business operations or an IT role. I saw a few postings that were mostly based in Vancouver for summer students, but I mean, I'd love to be on site, and I was just wondering if there's any business or finance roles in the summer that are either at Sparwood, Highland Valley, or on the other sites.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what my summer ones are going to be yet. We usually recruit sort of 4 months in advance, but I have a pretty good, I can make a guess and say that, yeah, a pretty educated guess, and that we'll likely will have some business. So generally we hire, and if you're interested in site, that's even better because lots of people like to stick to the cities and work in sort of corporate offices. But
hire
Oh, but there's certainly some roles at the operational level. So we have things like accountants, operational excellence is another area to keep an eye out for postings, just because that's a team that sort of works hand in hand with finance to sort of look at new ways to solve old problems. I guess it's kind of the quick way I sort of explain it. So there's operational excellence or business improvement. Human resources. There's lots of business opportunities that seem to come up pretty consistently each term. So definitely keep an eye out for that. For summer, you're going to be looking in January, Karen, to see some of our postings come out then. That's when we get our approvals, and we'll start moving forward with recruitment around January, February for those summer positions.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the question.
All right, we have some questions in the chat now, which is great. Ian it's a similar question, I guess, but Ian's first year computing science at U of A, and he's wondering about, well, summer positions for first years, as well as, I guess, co-op opportunities down the road.
Great. Yeah, there's a couple of ways people can approach the summer student roles. So we have the co-op program. So those are generally 8 months to 12 months in duration for co-ops. That's usually what Teck sticks with as a business. And then we also have summer student positions within the coal business unit as well as our trail business unit as well. And so you'll keep an eye for those again. Like I said, January depends. You can either go into a role. We have a combination of sort of professional or staff roles, and then we also have some sort of more site-based or operational roles, more labor type roles. So you could potentially look at both those options. You could look and just get some experience at a mine site, working in the pit potentially, whether it's with blast crew, whatever, or if you want to get into your field, you can look for those opportunities as well as a summer student if you're just looking for that 4 months. So it's something to keep an eye out for in January for those postings.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's good. We've got Anna has a question about EIT opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, so for Teck, EITs are sort of an ongoing as needed basis. So we don't have a set time of year that we hire EITs. So it continues throughout the year. So I guess as someone who's looking for an EIT role, I would suggest start keeping an eye on the website, set yourself up for job alerts. And as things come up, then you can apply to them as they come along. So it's not like we sort of do it just in May or just in September. It certainly is ongoing as needed. And as we shuffle people through our departments and move EITs into more senior roles, then that EIT position would open up and we would just advertise it at that time. So that's generally how we've done it, as needed basis. So we certainly have we've done a lot of recruitment this year already. So gosh, I think at mid-year this year, we already hired more than we hired the whole year before. So there are an EIT, for those of you who might not know, is engineering training. So that's a new graduate from an engineering program. And yeah, so those will be listed on the website. And I would always suggest to people, if it says 1 to 2 years experience, you can include that co-op experience that you may have under your belt as that. So I would certainly suggest, even if it does say an EIT with a couple of years experience, make sure you still apply, because you can certainly count that any co-op experience or summer student experience that you would have had going into that as experience you've gathered.
Great. A couple people had their hands up. I'm hesitant to pronounce people's names because I may butcher it, and I apologize in advance. But is it Zhao Liu? Yeah, feel free to unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So I just have a question about new grad software developers. I'm wondering, do you have any openings for that? I'm a computer science student graduating next year.
Awesome. Great. And you're looking for full-time roles, you said?
Yeah, I'm looking for full-time roles.
Great. Yeah. I would suggest, I guess, if you're graduating, so you'll probably be graduating in May, I would say by January, February. Again, like I said, because we don't have a scheduled time we do all our new grad hires, I would say by winter, early winter, start keeping an eye on our website. Again, set yourself up for those job alerts. And those positions are constantly recruiting for. Our race team has been super busy. So, and they're doing lots of recruitment. So I would suggest, yes, just keep an eye on the website. And I know it can be a little daunting because there are a lot of positions, like literally every day, every couple of days, you'll see a bunch more come on. But if you set yourself up for job alerts, it makes it a little bit more manageable. And anything, if you can pick out keywords, that sort of thing, then you'll get pinged once a job comes up that's relevant for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your interest. I was seeing, oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I saw another hand that I don't know if you could see, but it might have disappeared on me. If you have more to add.
It was Sandra, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it was Sandra. Okay, good. I was going to say.
Oh, yes. I was trying to see if I can type it out.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Stacey. I'm Sandra from TRU. My question is, are we expecting to see graduate positions this coming week too, or it's going to be just CoOp
Mm-hmm.
positions? I'm in business accounting. And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm looking at clearing school either end of this year, or if it's just CoOp, I don't mind postponing it to next year. That's why I'm really concerned. Is it going to be just for the CoOp, or is it going to also include the graduate program?
Great question. Yeah, thanks for clarifying on that, Sandra. So yeah, for right now, this week, what I was sort of referring to is the co-op position. So we'll be posting those up this week and through into next week, likely. And then never hurts to keep an eye out, because there might be some onesie twosies that'll come up later if something comes in late, because inevitably I always get at least a few late requests throughout the term. But yeah, like I said, EITs I don't know about in terms of exactly timing wise, because they kind of come up as things move around or as they secure approvals. So those I can't guarantee. There'll be some new ones next week. So I would suggest just, yeah, keeping an eye out for new grad roles on an ongoing as needed basis. Like you can set yourself up for job alerts for anything with respect to commerce, accounting, that sort of thing.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we've got a lot of questions. Most of the questions about sort of graduates and new grads, which is great. So there's a lot of interest there. And on that vein, Amrit has asked about, I guess he's interested in product owner roles. And so what are the skills or expertise we look for in these types of positions?
Oh boy, product owner roles. I haven't recruited a ton of those. Do you know much? Do you want to answer it, Masaki? Do you know a little bit about it? I couldn't get into the nitty gritties. I guess I could talk about it from a very general overview.
Yeah, it's a good point. So it's very specific to two of our teams. So our Race 21 team and our TDS team. And once again, like our focus, so with Stacey and I, a lot of our focus is on the co-op roles. And so this is not necessarily one of the roles that we hire co-op students in. So we're less familiar with it. I don't know, Amy, do you have any, I don't know, like with your team and do you have any knowledge in this particular area for tech?
A little bit. I mean, I'm not sure how in Cole at least whether or not we really have like product managers, because we're mostly just building like as a team. So we have like a team lead and we have a bunch of requests, and then we sort of have a massive piece of software that we're all working on, or like little bits and pieces to help other people out. In Race 21 though, I think they would probably have project managers, because they have a lot of different projects and they're all like computer science, technology oriented. So I would be looking in Race 21 for those kind of positions, but Tech did a lot of hiring over the last couple of years, and I think they might have hired a lot of project managers already. But you could always try and look for a co-op that has more management experiences rather than just technology, if that's what you want to do, or join the team as like a developer and then transition in, once you get to know the projects. I think that's something that a lot of people emphasize is like it's a mining company, and it's really hard when we have people who just sit in front of computers all day and are like, I totally know how to do machine learning, but they've never been to a mine site and they don't understand that we're working with like haul trucks that like literally stand 4 humans high and things like that. So I think getting into the company and getting to know about mining itself would probably be more valuable than anything else if you wanted to actually lead a project. Yeah.
Great. And since we've got you talking, maybe I'll get you to describe a little bit about your role at Tech as a co-op student, how that's going.
Yeah, so I didn't know Tech existed until a friend of mine said that she got a job here, and then I was like, wait, a mining company actually does new things, like, you know, technologically new things, and I got really excited because I grew up in a small mining town, and so then I applied and I got accepted. My job is data engineer, and so on the team that I work for, the team is actually based out of Sparwood and Fernie, which is like 13-hour drive towards Alberta. And they do a lot of work for the actual mine sites. So we get data. All the mine sites right now have, you know, giant trucks, and all the ways that you get metal out of the earth have like sensors and things attached to them. And so we get a lot of that data from those sensors, and then we process the data about like where the trucks are and when people are getting on shift or off shift, or how much they're carrying, and things like that. We process all that data, and then we pass that data around to other people in the company so that they can you know, like make year-end reports, or send it off to Race 21, where they might do machine learning and be like, hey, this truck keeps breaking down, and so we should just like replace the truck, or things like that. So that's kind of my role, is a lot of like data cleansing and getting data from a bunch of different systems, and, you know, putting it all together as one coherent piece.
And how's the experience been?
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my God. Okay. So I honestly didn't expect this job to be actually like that much fun for a mining company, but like we went kayaking, and we have a great student experience committee. I'm also like on the student experience committee, but anyway, so the student experience committee like organizes a lot of stuff. So we had like pizza in the park, and every place in Tech, you know, like every site went and did a bunch of cool stuff, like whether they went to like a spa or kayaking or water park, or like all kinds of things. So you know, we try and make the experience like fun, and make like Tech the best co-op that you've ever had. And I don't know, it's a really nice community, and it's way more than I expected. I love it, and I really hope I get a job offer.
Subtle, Amy, very subtle. No, it's been great having Amy on the team, and I can imagine the value that you add, and that's something that I always highlight for people, whether you're a new graduate or a co-op. The type of experience, you could tell from what Amy's talking about, how she's talking about the experience she's getting with Tech. She's already embedded as a member of the team, and she's just been here a few months, and it really, that's how we treat our co-ops, and that's what the experience we want them to get, is really feeling like they're members of the team, and the jobs that we give our co-ops are really important, and it's adding a lot of value, and that's why we have such a strong program, because we really make sure that our co-ops are getting this great experience that really offers them a huge learning curve, but also adds so much value to the business that it makes it very very appetizing for hiring managers to bring a co-op on, because we bring a fresh perspective, great ideas, and then potentially for us, I mean, the whole purpose, and Amy sort of joked about it, but we already talked about Kate, who did the video. This is your foot in the door. This is a way to potentially get yourself a job at Tech. Is really, it's like the best 8-month job interview you're ever going to have is a co-op experience with us. So yeah, certainly I mean, obviously, I'm a bit passionate about this whole co-op business, because that's what I do. But I've hired thousands of people over the years, and I see them now as full-time employees moving up through the company, and it makes me very happy.
Awesome. Next on mute here. So David, I see you patiently waiting. Thank you. Yeah, feel free to unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi, David.
So my question is like what's the difference between like mechanical engineering work and the technologist work? Because I am a mechanical engineer, third year at UVic, and I'm just curious about like what like a project, like what a daily schedule for like a engineering student would look like compared to like a technologist.
Okay, and are you looking for like full-time, you're thinking, or are you talking about a co-op role?
I think co-op are like 8 months, right? And they're
Yeah.
like weekdays, 5 days a week or something.
Yeah. So, and I guess if you, I guess, talk about like technologists versus a mechanical engineer. So I guess from what I was referring to earlier, you can work with technology and implementing technology in any area, in any discipline. So, and in especially we're seeing a lot of that work in our mechanical group. So you could be a maintenance engineer or a mechanical engineer co-op at our site, and there's new technologies getting implemented all the time. So, Amy's referred to a couple of things like installing sensors on some of our equipment, troubleshooting some of that. So we're working with our maintenance team there to make sure that's a smooth transition to implement some of the technologies on our equipment. There's also lots of areas where we're looking at how to improve our maintenance process. So certainly you'll get touches of technology, and we always look for students that have a good understanding, or not always, but a lot of our positions now, we're definitely seeing an evolution where we're looking for students that have, you have, your mechanical engineering degree, but you can also code, or you have an interest in technology and you've got a couple of courses under your belt. Maybe you're interested in data science or whatever it is, but those are really great skills to bring to the table, especially given the fact that the company is growing and moving in towards this sort of technology field, and really just growing our game in terms of really upping our game in terms of our technology. And that's definitely skill sets that we look for in our students. So I think that hopefully that answers your question. And then in terms of schedule, co-ops are generally for 8 months, 12 months. Schedule wise, it depends on the role, but most staff positions, so whether you're an EIT, engineering training, or a co-op, you usually work what's called an earned day off schedule with COAL anyway. And that looks like usually 7 to 4, Monday to Thursday, Friday off every other, and then you basically bank enough hours to get every second Friday off, which is great. And then some of our sites like Highland Valley Copper would work a 4 on, 4 off schedule. So it does vary. We have a lot of flexible schedules across the business that really allow us to, we talk a lot about the work-life balance, and those schedules really allow us to be able to maintain that and be able to enjoy the areas that we're living in.
Thanks.
Great. The questions are piling up, which is great. And so a couple of people with hands up waiting patiently. So maybe we'll go to Abigail.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, hey Abigail.
Hi, I'm a second-year geology student at the University of Calgary. I actually just moved from Fernie after living there for a year, so I've developed a huge interest in working with tech in the last year or so. But what would you say stands out the most on a resume and cover letter for recruiters during the hiring process, specifically for the co-op positions in the summer?
Great. Yeah, that's a great question. It's something I get a lot, especially if it's someone's fairly new into co-op, so you might not have a whole lot of experience on your belt. Well, you already mentioned a couple of things that definitely I would highlight is that you already are familiar with the area. So highlighting that in your cover letter, understanding that it is small town living, if you're okay with that, you're open to relocation potentially. And then a lot of it too, I would highlight the lifestyle side of it. And it's something that until I worked for Teck, I didn't realize the importance of. And it's really highlighting your hobbies or your interests, and say you're an outdoor enthusiast and you like skiing or mountain biking or climbing. Those are a lot of the things that people do on their off time in these areas, especially I know in the coal, in the Fernie, Sparwood area, that's really a big driving factor. So we've definitely seen that people like that really adjust well to the lifestyle here, are okay with living in small town, and really will be a great fit for the area. I mean, that's not a deal breaker, but it's certainly, if you're coming in with a little less experience, it's nice to highlight those areas that are in common with potentially a lot of people that work here. So things like that. Any outdoor experience anyone's had, again, a lot of our roles really bring you into the field. So highlighting, even if you were a camp, a camp leader or something in last summer, highlighting the fact that you worked outside, you're okay with that sort of schedule, or even any sort of different shifts that you worked in the past, highlight that as well. So those are really great points to bring up. Anything I'm forgetting there, Masaki, that I usually bring up? I know I usually have my spiels.
No, I think you nailed it.
Okay. Does that help, Abby?
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Perfect. And so on that vein, is a question in the chat from environmental students. Do you require students to have field experience, or are they able to learn that on the co-op placement?
Yeah, certainly. No, it's certainly something you can learn. It's nice to have a little bit of, I know there's usually field course that you have under your belt as an environmental student, and I know some of the geo students as well. So those are great to have under your belt prior to coming, just because you understand what it means to get out collect samples properly, that sort of thing. But we've also hired people without that experience in the past. So long as you're open to work outside, enviros definitely spend a lot of time out in the field, like I said, doing water sampling, air sampling, talking to operators, different things like that. So it's certainly something we have looked outside of, as long as you're open to it. But if you have any experience prior and that's a lifestyle fit for you, definitely highlight that in your resume.
Leanne's got her hand up. Thanks for your patience.
Hey, Leanne.
Hi there. I'm a co-op coordinator at Thompson Rivers University, and I had a couple questions. One was just sort of the timeline. You mentioned that postings are possibly going to be coming out next week. What would be the hiring timeline after that?
That's a loaded question, only because last term was so huge that we literally were recruiting right till about a month prior, not even, maybe closer to. So, but generally what'll happen, the postings will go up. They'll go up until probably mid-October, but we'll start actively recruiting probably by the end of the month. And we try and get through them as fast as we can, but obviously we have to prioritize a few of the disciplines in a row. So sometimes some of the disciplines may be a bit of a wait. So I guess while I got the platform, I'll tell people, please be patient with the process. It takes us a while to get through all the bulk of the applications for sure. But yeah, interviews will be starting in September, and then they'll literally go right till into November for sure. We'll be interviewing until, I suspect, especially if we have 60-something roles to fill on the coal side. And so you may see, and that's something I guess it's nice to highlight for people, that lots of times we'll post and we'll put a closing date. We may repost, and it doesn't mean you haven't been considered if you did apply for that initial posting. It may just be we're just refreshing the posting, but we're still working through applicants, or we haven't had a chance to look at them, but we're going to repost it to make sure, because lots of times you'll go through and then all of a sudden lots of people are already secured employment if we haven't gotten to it over a few weeks. So just be patient with the process and don't be discouraged if you see it reposted. It doesn't mean we're not going to call. We still may call. It's just that we're trying to keep it active, keep it moving while we go through the recruitment process.
That's good to know. My second quick question is just for Amy. I was wondering, are you, was this your first co-op?
This is my second co-op. I did a co-op previously in research at BC Children's Hospital, and so this is my second one.
Awesome. How has the co-op experience translated to your academics? Has that enhanced it, helped it?
Oh, okay. So I'll be honest, like this one is surprisingly close to the things I learned in class, which is such a nice change. So a lot of the things I learned in like my upper level, project-oriented class are things that I learned like a year or two ago and was like, I guess real people use this, but I don't know when, and then I never saw it again. And then now in my co-op, I see it every day, like the sort of like structures, what are all the words? Like it's a really nice change to actually sort of understand like the reason that I learned those things, and then have a chance to apply them and like actually apply them in person and be like, oh, like I remember how to do this, and really finally feel like my degree translates to a job and vice versa. So it's a nice change.
Great, thanks, Leanne. All right, so I want to make sure that somebody leaves happy today with some a year supply of coffee. So we'll switch to the trivia, but don't worry, we had a long queue of questions, which is great. We'll come back and we will answer. Hopefully we'll get through every question, and if more come in, great. So maybe what we'll do is we'll go to the next slide because I want to talk a little bit about recruitment for those who need to jump off. And what we're going to do is we'll stick around. Like I said, we're going to answer the questions, and we could even stick around a bit after the session for those who are still available. Like I said, the goal is to answer all of your questions, but we did just want to, there's a few messages in terms of recruitment for those who are curious about positions at Teck.
Yeah, and I sort of alluded a little bit to this, but this is some quotes from some students that have worked for us. So obviously Amy currently works for us. These are some students that have just finished their term this past, what month are we in past August, that just quote a little bit. And we thought it's nice to highlight a little bit about their experience. And really, I mean, I could talk about it until I'm blue in the face about what a great experience it is. And I get it's my job, but it's a pretty easy sell. I see the type of comments that people make, and you can see here that probably the most common comment we see is, I can't believe how much experience and how much responsibility I was given as a co-op with Teck, but that it was such a huge learning curve, but they came out of it with such a great experience. And so I want to make sure that people get that message, because it really is a really cool experience and something that we're all passionate about as a company. And for us, it's a great way for you to get your feet wet, learn the industry a little bit more, and understand what it's all about, so that you could potentially come on as a full-time employee. So yeah, can't speak enough about it. And the students are certainly leaving with very happy experience. And if you ever looked up, like, we do evaluations of all our students as they leave, but certainly they do. They rank us all over the place. I'm sure on the internet you can find all kinds of information, and it is really neat to see how positive the experience has been for so many people. So I think that speaks volumes there.
All right. So let's go to let's go to the next slide, and then we'll go back to the questions.
Sure.
Because the one thing I did want to mention is we're gonna and Natalia, maybe I'll get you to paste in there, is we have a feedback survey. Our goal is to create campus coffees that are just geared towards you. And so we have a feedback survey, and I'd like you to fill that out, whether it's now or whether it's after the session. And so that way we know that, one, we're providing value to students, and that we can tailor like future campus coffees based on what students want. And so, yeah, we really appreciate your feedback. And it only takes about, 60 seconds to fill out. So that would be great. And you'll see the link shortly in the chat. And like I said, we'll spam you later with the email as well. All right. Now, I know Pedro has been waiting patiently, or roommate. Okay, I'm first name, last name, I'm not sure. Yeah, feel free to unmute your mic and fire away your question. Roommate.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. So my name is Ruma. I'm a grad student at the University of Calgary. I just had a few questions. I'm currently studying chemical engineering, but in my grad program, there is no co-op option, but I would like to partake in a co-op program. Is that allowed? And can I still apply for a co-op even if my course does not have a co-op term?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I'm glad you brought it up. So yeah, we do hire outside, co-op programs and people who aren't registered in official co-op programs. We try to hire someone that's finished their academic schedule altogether, because we want to see that they're returning back to school, because it obviously is an opportunity. We want to protect these co-op positions, and they're there to help students get experience before they graduate. So certainly no problem if you're not in a co-op program. If your school doesn't have one, you're more than welcome to apply. And those postings will be on the Tech website. So they're not only posted through co-op offices, you'll see them also on tech.com/careers, or we have a student landing page as well. Maybe Natalia, if you get a chance, you can put it in the chat there for me. But yeah, so more than happy to look at applications, and we've hired lots of students outside of co-op as well.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to ask, what would you like, being in tech, what would you think is a better pathway? Even though I want to do co-op, would you advise me to wait to do the EIT roles instead of the co-op roles?
So, I mean, every situation is different for sure, but if it's not going to affect your academic schedule too drastically, and you can make yourself available for 8 months, then I'm a bit of an advocate, so maybe I might be a bit biased in the answer, but I think that co-op is a great way to get some experience prior to graduating. Because I think once you graduate, if you haven't had an opportunity to get experience, it definitely makes it a little bit more challenging not having something to speak to in terms of, real life experience or practical sort of hands-on experience. So certainly, I think co-op does add value, whether it's with Tech or with any other company. It certainly adds some value to that resume prior to graduation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, let's go to some of the questions in the chat, and I apologize if we're redundant. I know I got some two helpers answering questions as we go too. So, but Stacey, I think Rohan was asking about, I guess you applied to a mechanical EIT position, and I guess a couple of days ago, and just, what in general, I guess when you apply, when can people expect sort of follow-up or results?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it does, I sort of joked about it earlier too, like, please be patient with the process. And you can imagine, I mean, there's some postings that we might get several hundred resumes, and that's not to discourage anyone by any stretch. It's just more, it takes us time to get through them. We don't It's not like we have any sort of technologies that are paring down the resumes without us looking at them and just gives us a short list. Like we do go through them and look at the resumes and shortlist. So basically, just to give you a quick overview of what that process looks like, for an EIT role, say we get 200 resumes, a recruiter would go through those, maybe narrow them down to like the top 10, pass that along to a hiring manager. Once the hiring manager looked at them, they may pare it down again to like maybe their top 5 or 6, and then the recruiter would reach out to do pre-screen calls. So a quick conversation, usually over video. They'll schedule it with you to sort of just chat a little bit about the role, a little bit about your experience, and that could be potential with a recruiter and a hiring manager. And then from there, they'll shortlist to the top 2, 3, and then do those final interviews, which will be a little bit longer in duration, likely an hour, hour and a half, and then make decisions from there. So you can imagine sometimes that process can take some time, and so once the posting closes is usually when we start doing that. So I would for sure, that would be sort of starting point would be posting close, and then you're probably looking at 6 weeks potentially by the time it's all said and done. It can vary, but that's a sort of rough estimate, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the role. Hopefully that helps. I know the EIT roles tend to get a lot of applications.
Yeah, great. We've got a number of questions still in the chat. Like I said, we'll get through them, but I do know we're getting close to the end of time. So if those are you who have to jump shortly, just want to say thanks for joining us. And for those who can stick around, we're going to stick around for a little bit longer to answer your questions. So Patrick is asking about civil. Do we recruit civil engineers and civil technologists? And
Yes.
what kind of role do they have in our company?
Sure. Yeah. And there's a question about mechanical engineering technologists as well. So yeah, we do hire a lot of variety of technologists within various roles. So for civil, a lot of times they end up working out in like maybe with this with our survey crew and with the mining engineering team and doing some more of that hands-on work in the field. Or there may be some opportunities within the projects group for civil engineers and then civil technologists, like I said, likely survey and out in the pit kind of thing. And then mechanical engineering technologists, we certainly hire as well. That could be anything from like non-destructive testing in that field. It could be, I'm just trying to think of all the different roles that we have. There are certainly technologists because of all these new processes with automation in the plants, automation and technology rollout. There's a lot more areas where we can get some jobs done with the support of a technologist in the field, like with radios. Like there's a lot of new communication systems that are coming through. I know if you talk about TDS, my goodness, the amount of value there is in just like these new communications. We've had to create our own LTE network. Like there's lots of different areas where we're going to need boots on the ground support with rolling out some of these technology projects, and that's where a lot of those technologists tend to fit in within their various disciplines. Hopefully that answers it.
Great, and this is an easy one. What month do your 12-month or 12-month, yeah, 12-month co-op positions typically start in?
We can hire, usually we get approval for 8 months and 12 months every term. So every term we can start a 12-month co-op or an 8-month co-op. So yeah, so obviously for January, we can have some, they usually get approved for 8 or 12. So depending on the student's availability, we can make it work usually. If not, lots of times I'll tell people, if I only have it approved for 8 months and you want a 12-month term and we think you're the best fit for the role, then I would either go back and seek approval for the longer term, or we could secure it 8 months with the possibility of extending it for that additional 4 months once you're on board, and we can get that approval after the fact. So it's all doable. We have some flexibility.
All right. So I know Amy and has been answering some of the questions, and there's one that came in from Johnson. I just want to maybe go do a deeper dive, Stacey.
Sure.
And it was, what are the chances for international students without Canadian experience? And what can they highlight on their resumes and cover letters to improve their chances?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, we do hire lots of international students. And what I would suggest, I guess, if you don't have Canadian experience, and I think this is probably the challenge for a lot of international students or international people coming to work in Canada, it's I always tell people, make it really clear the experience you're coming to Canada with. So if it's experience from, because I may not be familiar with the company you worked with, which from the country that you came from. So whereas in Canada, I know a lot of the companies, I kind of know what you might have done there. So I would say provide a little bit of detail or context around the company you work for and what type of work you've done. So just offering a little bit more detail around the experience you're coming with, so that it makes it really clear and understandable for a recruiter to be like, oh, that's totally relatable to what we do here, or this role or that role, and that just makes it easier. So that's one quick suggestion I would say, is just making sure you can relate your international experience to the Canadian experience that you're hoping to get.
Perfect. All right, I think we've actually managed to get through all of the questions in the chat. Maybe last call for any people who've got one lingering question, whether you want to raise your hand or type it in the chat.
That said, Stacey, like, you know, if you're an international student, like I assume you're an international student at a university like in Canada. I guess, like, I don't know how, like, because we can't offer visas, right? Like we don't do visa sponsorship.
Yeah, we
right?
can't sponsor an international student from another university. But if you're studying in Canada and you're looking for a co-op, yeah, sorry, thanks for clarifying that. That's great. And then the only other clarification I was going to offer, or just an insight maybe, I know Amy, thanks for answering the question around housing. The only thing I would say is, yeah, like Amy said, we don't offer housing as such, but we certainly give you lots of support. So basically, once you're offered a position in whichever community you're going to be working in, what our team has a lot of accommodations that we're aware of. We also have people reaching out to us to say they want to advertise a place. So what we do is gather that information, and once you've secured a role, about a month prior, we'll send out details around local accommodations and different like property managers and websites that you should check locally, because it may be different than when you're maybe in the city, like how to find places. So we'll give you some resources and some support to help you find that, so that those resources are there at your disposal too, and we'll help you out through the process.
Right. All right. I think we last call, going once, going twice.
In the clear.
Right, should we call it a wrap? Yeah. Should we wrap this one up?
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for your great questions and lots of engagement. I really appreciate it. It's nice to see some familiar faces and names out there, and I look forward to seeing all your resumes coming through over the next few terms.
Yeah, and just to let you know, the other campus coffees coming up, they're different. They're going to be discipline specific, and so we'll have guest speakers from particular topics. If you want to do a deeper dive in a particular field, please join us in one of those and have another chance to win coffee. All right. Best of luck, everybody.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.